guys. I'm going to make this really quick. I'm going to make this one quick. Halloween is upon us, and I kind of want to throw in 5 suggestions for you guys to watch on Halloween night if there's nothing else going on. But all of these 5 films I'm going to suggest have one common theme, and it has to do with being a witch. Right? Which witch was which? All right, so I'm gonna go over what I think are the top 5 movies that have to do with witchcraft or witches or whatever. And for Halloween, right? So have some fun, get some popcorn on, and just watch it. Whether they're scary or not to you, well, I'll leave that to you. For me, these top 5, some of them are a little bit more frightening and disturbing than others, but they do the job, and they're in my opinion, like in my experience at least, the most top of in my opinion which movies of witchery. All right, so let's get started. Number 5, this one is called The Blair Witch Project. This movie is famous for kind of introducing into horror the subgenre of found footage horror, right? So ever since then, it's been quite something. It's about a group of college kids who seek to film a documentary on the legend of a Blair Witch in the woods. They go out into the woods to film, to go to the locations where local legend had it, what the witch did during the times hundreds of years ago or whatnot, only to find out, to their dismay, that this is a real thing, and they get lost in the woods, and their film footage is documented all the way to their bitter, terrifying end. And the footage is found a year later or more or whatever, and where they play this footage in theaters everywhere. It was crazy because initially it gave everybody the impression that this was real. And everybody thought it was real, and these kids really disappeared, and so there was something to it. Only to find out it wasn't real. They're fine. Kids are fine. They're actors, and they made the movie. Good call. Good call. This was pretty good. What I liked about a lot of people, some people didn't like this movie because it didn't really show much. But in my opinion, I liked it because it didn't show much for the exact same reason. Sometimes it left you to the imagination. You really didn't see the true source of the danger, the true source of the horror, in the footage, in the found footage. But you heard it, you knew it, you knew it was there, and that was enough to mess you up and keep you on the edge of your seat, because it sure did for me. So I enjoyed this movie. I gave it 3 coffee cups. The next one is Suspiria. Suspiria is a 1977 Dan Argentino film. It is a horror classic from the 70s about a young girl who is an aspiring dancer, goes to Germany to a dance school, only to find out this dance school is run by a coven of witches that actually worship certain gods, and one of them happens to be called Suspiria. There's other films by the same director that touches upon the other ones, but in this one, this is the most famous and most popular of the 3, Suspiria. Great remake they made a few years ago, which I also reviewed with Dakota Johnson. This movie, it's best known for its cinematography, its shock value, its lighting, a lot of colors, a lot of red, which is pretty cool. It's an Italian-made film, so, they knew how to really invoke the grit and the horror of the time, of the late 70s. And for a movie to come out in 1977 with this kind of intensity and anxiety that it invokes in a viewer at the time watching this in the theater, it's up there as a great witchcraft-based film. Very devilish, very creepy. The kill effects are pretty good, and in my opinion, the remake did some justice. They made some changes in the remake, but it still had the same basic elements and idea there. So I appreciated that they didn't deviate too far away from it. So it was really good as a result. So yeah, check out Suspiria. The Craft. In 1996, this movie came out. I consider this like a teen horror kind of movie, element-based ritual of girls, right? One girl moves into town, and she has a special gift, and she runs across another group of girls that have similar gifts, and they kind of bond together. And it's these gifts are very supernatural in nature. What initially starts as something very element based, because initial Wicca or Wiccan religions, pagan religions, go back to the worship of the elements, adherence to the elements, earth, air, fire, water, things like that. However, they invoke something else, something more dark, something more sinister that gets to them. Especially one of them really gets an overhead on it. It's one of the most popular films, horror films of the 1990s. Came out in '96. One of the girls goes a little too power hungry in this, and that invokes a lot of the horror base later on in the movie. I would definitely recommend this as a definite watch if you're into witchcraft. But if you want to see what happens when witchcraft comes face to face with adolescents, The Lords of Salem, a Rob Zombie classic, in my opinion. Lords of Salem invokes the same name of the plot. It's about a young woman who's a DJ in the town of Salem, Massachusetts, who happens to be a direct ancestor of John Hawthorne, the man accused of condemning a group of witches to death by burning them at the stake or in some other kind of fashion. You see it early in the movie. Back in the late 1600s with the Salem witch trials. Obviously, this deviates from the true historical facts, in which case those were not real witches. Those were people unjustly accused. But, people, that's a horror movie. Let's go with it, right? So what happens is this record that's played in the radio station where this girl invokes the spirits of the Lords of Salem, the original witches, and they kind of bring back that power to resurrect and to get their revenge after 3 centuries or so, after those after they were burned at the stake. And you see all these very the biggest thing this movie is well known for is not only its great shots of Salem, Massachusetts, where I've been to, and it's been great. It's a great town to visit, especially in October. There's a lot of disturbing imagery in this movie, especially towards the end that make you go dag, And then I had to keep reminding myself, this is Rob Zombie. This is Rob Zombie. This is what he does. I get it. This is how he rolls. I understand. So if you really want to watch some shock stuff with some disturbing, scary, creepy devil stuff and witchy stuff, definitely check out The Lords of Salem for Halloween. Okay, this is my last one, and this is one I would watch personally on Halloween night, and that is A24 Films' The Witch. Came out in 2015, and it's basically about a family in the late 1600s in the New England area that leave their original town and go and build a life for themselves elsewhere in the New England wilderness at the time. Their little baby disappears, and there's it's kind of like a reflection of the whole Salem hysteria, Salem witchcraft hysteria of the late 1600s, but condensed, instead of a whole town, condensed into this one family, into this one situation, to this one girl who becomes basically influenced by real witches somewhere in the woods who happen to steal her baby brother. And the rest of the family start getting paranoid and start getting a little crazy, and it eventually leads to some really bad stuff at the end of the movie, and some weird stuff too, where you see the true source of the power finally come to play on this girl's life and on her family. Check out The Witch. This movie I enjoyed. I went to the movies to see it. I have a hard copy of it. It's definitely a must watch, and in my opinion, it's an A24 film, so it definitely has the feel and the grit and the sense of a good old fashioned Halloween witch movie. I might have given The Witch itself more. I actually don't remember what I gave a couple of them in the past, so I'm not gonna try to really rate them here, but I will suggest I am recommending to watch them. If you're home and you're like, I wonder what movie to watch. Watch one of these 4 witch movies. Or 5, I'm sorry, 5 witch movies. All right? And let me know what you think about them. Talk to me, comment below, and share with me what you think of these 5 witch movies that I recommend for Halloween. All right? Have a happy Halloween, guys. It's Ralph Perez from Horror and Coffee. Take care of yourself.